Hi everyone. Good day. I hope you guys had a nice day. My name is Tiwa Sulaiman and I'm a product designer. I think that's enough introduction, right? So today I'll be taking laws of UX. So let me just quickly go straight into the topic. So the things we'll be discussing today are laws of UX, the definition, some laws of UX with illustrations that will help you understand, and real life examples. We'll also be talking about usability heuristics, some usability heuristics, and then a couple of resources so that you can read on your own and after the session. And then we'll have time for questions. So first of all, what are laws of UX? Laws of UX is a collection of best practice that designers can consider when building user interfaces. Designers can use this knowledge to build more human-centered products and experiences instead of forcing users to adapt to the design of a product or experience. We can use some key principles from psychology as a guide for designing in a way that is adapted to people rather. So when you're designing a product, whatever it is that you're designing, right? People are used to certain things. People have been using other products before you launched your own product, and then they are used to these things. So you reinventing the wheel will basically give users terrible experience. And your main goal as a designer, as a UI UX designer, as a product designer, is that people should be able to achieve and accomplish their goals easily, period. That is your work as a product designer. So don't hinder people's accomplishing their goal by creating your own mental models. Don't do that. Don't reinvent wheels, right? They will basically allow people have terrible experience while using your products. So I'm going to be explaining some laws of UX. There are a couple of them. I think there are 19 or 20, but because of time, we'll be going through just 7, right? And then, I'll give you where you guys would go and read more about the laws of UX. So the first law is Jacob's law, right? And Jacob's law states that users spend most of their time on other sites. This means that users prefer your site to work the same way as all the other sites that they already know, right? So for instance, if I want to shop for a product, I have a bunch of places to go. I have Amazon, I have AliExpress, I have Jumia, I have Konga. If I go to Konga and Konga is acting up, I will go to Jumia. If Jumia is acting up, I'll go to AliExpress. So there are a lot of options, right? So while you're being unique, while you're being creative with your designs and solutions, remember that users are familiar with specific mental models. In our heads, we already know how e-commerce sites should look like, right? There should be a bunch of options for me to choose from. There should be a bunch of pictures. There should be comments. There should be ratings from people, right? And if you want to reinvent the wheel, right? Maybe you want to be very creative and make sure you test. Make sure you do a bit of user testing before pushing your products to the public, right? So when you're doing the user testing, make sure that you monitor how users are using your product. If you see that the thing that you have reinvented makes the user not accomplish their goal, please remove it, because the main purpose of you creating that product is for people to accomplish their goal. So if whatever you reinvented or whatever extreme creativity that you have has made the user not accomplish their goal, kindly remove it, right? In this picture here, you can notice how both products have similar patterns, right? They have detailed descriptions, they have the price, they have discounts, they have purchase option, and they have a save for later option. They basically look the same. So me going from Jumia to Konga, it is the same thing. I don't have to now learn how Konga works or learn how Jumia works, because they are all designed similarly, right? So the next law is Hick's law. Hick's law states that the time it takes to make a decision increases with the number and complexity of choices, right? When you're designing, make sure you break down complex tasks into smaller steps in order to decrease cognitive load. Avoid overwhelming your users by highlighting recommended options. Be careful not to simplify to the point of abstraction. Minimize choices when response times are critical to increase decision time. So, for instance, you go to a restaurant and then they hand you the menu.
From Eurosat, I mean, don't know, everything will be exposed.
So imagine you go to a restaurant and then they hand you a menu, and then your menu is 15 pages, right? Trust me, in 2 hours, you've not picked the food you want to pick, right? And even when you now want to now decide, after you've taken a lot of time, what you eventually pick will be rice or normal pasta that you usually eat, because there's a lot of options to choose from, right? A company or a product that handles Hick's Law well is Netflix for me. Personally, anytime I want to eat something, whatever it is I want to eat, even if it's biscuits, I want to watch something while eating that thing. And then I use Netflix, so I'll just go to Netflix. So imagine I want to eat one biscuit, yeah, and then I go to Netflix and then I see a bunch of films and I do not know which to pick. So for this first screen, you can see that a bunch of movies here, and then I'm like, which one should I pick? I'm lost. But then Netflix handled this perfectly, right? They created recommendations. You can see here that it says top 10 films in Nigeria today. Instead of looking for a couple of movies out of 1,000 movies that are on Netflix, they already highlighted the number one. And I'm like, okay, if people are watching this movie, it has to be good. And then I just pick it. So instead of me going through all of those steps and looking for movies, I could just pick number one because they've recommended it for me, right? So I'm making decisions in less time. Also, when you use Netflix regularly, they have this algorithm thing, I think it's AI, right? That gives you movies according to other movies that you have watched. I love sci-fi movies. I love futuristic movies. And Netflix knows that. They understand that. That's why this picture right here shows a 92%. And trust me, anytime I have watched a movie that is 90% upward, it is a movie that I like. So they have helped me streamline, instead of searching for a lot of movies, they've streamlined my options in 2 different ways, right? Also, remember that I mentioned something. I said, be careful not to simplify to the point of abstraction. Let's take a look at what Apple did here, right? This remote is like typical remotes that all of us have in our houses. And then some buttons, let's not lie, you've never ever touched it before because you don't even know what it is used for, right? So Apple decided to, be the good guys. Oh yeah, let's simplify this thing. And then they created this remote control in the middle. Trust me, seeing this remote control, I do not know what to do. They have confused me more. I will just continue clicking on this, pressing these buttons, and I will be hoping that it takes me where I want it to take me. They have simplified to the point of abstraction and they have confused me more. But see this other control here. This control has reduced the button by about 20. I think I counted it. They reduced the buttons here to about like less than 20. And then I can still do basic functionalities that I want to do. I can increase my volume. I can reduce my volume. I can put in a channel number, and they have simplified it. Apple did not do that well, but this other remote control did that perfectly. Another law of UX is Miller's law. People can't store a lot of items in their working memory, so make it easier for them to process and scan through items. A recent study showed that our attention span as human beings is 7 to 10 seconds, and that of a goldfish is about 15 seconds. So a goldfish pays more attention than us humans, right? You need to consider that while designing. Organize content in smaller chunks to help users process, understand, and memorize items. That's where this word chunking comes in, right? What is chunking? Chunking is grouping together connected things so that they can be processed as one, right? So have a couple of examples here. For those of us that listen to the radio, whenever they are calling the number for, to call in, they don't just say the number, 081, blah, blah, blah. They don't just say it like that because they know that you are not going to get it, obviously. So what they do is they do 081, 357, all of those things. They break it into chunks so that you can grab it better and faster. Another example is Google Docs, right? So imagine if all of these things that are placed here, Google Docs puts it to your eyes, and then you go to the Google Docs and then you're seeing a bunch of things and you don't know where to start from. It would confuse you as a user. You're definitely going to leave Google Docs, trust me. But what have they done? They have chunked, they have reduced it into smaller bits, and they have grouped it in similar ways for me to understand. So see this chunk of text right here. The one on the left is packed. I cannot see it, I cannot read it, I do not know what is here. But the one on the right-hand side is broken down. I can easily scan through it, and I can easily understand. So while designing, make sure you do not overwhelm the user, because human beings don't have long attention span. Make sure you break whatever you want to show the user into chunks. The next law we'll be talking about is Fitts law. Fitts law states that the time to acquire a target is a function of the distance to and size of the target. That sounds like physics, but let me break it down to you, right? Here, the only thing you should pay attention to as a user is how long will it take, as a designer is how long will it take my user to accomplish their goal, basically. Touch targets should be large enough for users to accurately select them. Touch targets should be placed in areas of an interface that allows them to be easily acquired. I would use Apple as another example of a product that we see regularly. For those of us that use iPhones and all, there's this small switch by the side of your iPhone that allows you to switch like your ringer mode on or off. That thing is the smallest thing ever. And anytime I want to use it, I basically have to remove my pouch to do that. It's taking me more time. It's making the process is more stressful, or I have to look for a pen to be able to switch it, right? That thing is small, and the touch target is very, very small for me to touch, like with my thumb, right? So Apple has basically made that very, very uncomfortable for me. So as designers, make sure you consider that. This on illustration shows how the thumb zone, right? So when you're using your phone, this is how convenient parts of your screens are, right? The green parts are the natural parts which are comfortable to reach. You can touch your phone right now and touch the green parts of your phone, right? You see that those parts are easy to touch. The orange parts, you have to stretch a bit. You have to stretch your thumb a bit. The red parts, you have to stretch like very well to be able to touch those things on those places, right? That's why most times when you see apps, the navigation bar is always below. The home screen is always to the left, because that is very, very easy to click. Yes, this is a perfect example, right? So the middle part is the primary part. The main content is here, and it is easier for you to, reach as a user. When you're scrolling, you know that most times when you're scrolling on social media feeds, you swipe on the middle, at the middle of your phone, right? So information, most times when you're designing, put information there so that it's easier for users to, interact with the information that is there. Then we have the secondary parts. Tabs and other secondary actions that may be frequent. Keep the most used one on the left and the least used one on the right. That is why home button is always on the left. There's a reason for everything in design. So that's why the home button is always on the left hand side of the navigation bar. And then the tertiary part, actions people rarely use, menus, profiles. We can also trigger them by swiping gestures and swiping the app left or right, right? So for those of us that use Twitter, there's this, your profile picture is on the upper left, upper left-hand side, right? It is hard for you to just click on that, but you can easily just swipe your screen to the other side and then it takes you there. Those are just things that will help your usability. The next thing is, for cars, right? On some of our cars, you can see that from your steering wheel, you can control some things. You can control the music, you can, for some cars, you can control the AC, I think. So you can control the music, you can stop the music, you can pick a call. That's maybe if your car can connect to Bluetooth and all of that, you can pick a call right from the steering wheel. They made life easier for you. So imagine you didn't have all of those buttons, and then sometimes when you are driving, you need to see very well. So you turn down the volume of the music, right? Instead of you stretching and maybe you close your eyes and then the car hits you and all of that, it is on your steering wheel. So you can easily just touch it and reduce the volume. That explains Fifth law very well. Another law is aesthetic usability effect. Users often perceive aesthetically pleasing designs as designs that are more usable. We actually, as humans, we actually judge a book by its cover. Let's not lie. If I go into a store and I see a purple thing, I will pick it because I love purple and purple is my favorite color and it is aesthetically pleasing to me. I'm basically judging a book by its cover. Another perfect example is there's this fresh yo that has a purple flavor. I do not even take fresh yo before, but because I saw it and it's purple and purple is aesthetically pleasing to my eyes, I bought it and I don't even like it. But because it's aesthetically pleasing, right? I bought it, right? So some people say your experience just has to be nice, your app doesn't have to be fine. That's not true. Your app being fine attracts people. When you go to a website and it's not fine, let us say the truth. You are going to be frustrated because you're like, what is this? And then there is a platform or there's a website that looks perfect, that looks nice. You want to use that website rather than using one that doesn't look good, right? And aesthetically pleasing design creates a positive response in people's brains and leads them to believe the design actually works better. So even if your experience is not too good, because it is fine, people would download it. People would go to your website before even considering the experience of the website. Another law is von Restorff effect. The von Restorff effect, also known as isolation effect, predicts that when multiple similar objects are present, the one that differs from the rest is most likely to be remembered. These are illustrations here. Out of all of these 4 objects that are here, I'm sure that this second one is most appealing to you and you're going to remember it. That's why you highlight when you read, right? For those of us that read the Bible, we highlight when we read the Bible because we want to remember that verse, right? Also, when you're designing, I don't know if you guys have noticed, pricing pages, whenever they want to recommend one, they highlight that one. They highlight the price they want you to pay, right? The recommended one, they highlight it. It's either always bigger, or there's a banner on it, or there's a different color and whatnot, right? Another law of UX is Doherty's threshold. Productivity soars when a computer and its user interact at a pace of less than 400 milliseconds that ensure that neither has to wait on the other. Sounds like physics. Let me break it down. Provide system feedback within 400 milliseconds.
And this
in order to keep users' attention and increase productivity. Progress bars help you make wait time tolerable, regardless of their accuracy. Most times when you're using a product, right, and then you click on something and you're not seeing anything, you click on maybe submit or sign in and nothing is working, you're not getting any response, you're not getting, oh, my internet connection may be bad, all of those things, and then you're just clicking on it and nothing is happening, you're going to close the app and most likely even delete it, right? But if you click on something and then maybe it tells you, oh, system error or internet connection is bad, then you know what is happening at that point. Another example is this: when you click on download on Canva, right? It shows you this. So it shows you how long your download would take. Imagine you click on download and then you don't see anything. You're lost. You're like, is this thing even downloading? Sometimes you won't download multiple times because the system is not responding to the download button that you clicked, right? But this, it shows you, oh, we are downloading your designs. Just be patient until this progress bar fills up, right? Okay, so those are all the laws that I covered. There are a bunch more, and I would like you guys to read it. I'll be giving you guys a resource at the end of this session. So let's go to heuristics. What are usability heuristics? Usability heuristics were devised in 1994 by Jacob Nelson, a well-known Danish web consultant who had observed and analyzed the problems associated with user interface in his teachings and consulting work. So what are heuristics? Heuristics is a rule of thumb or a good guide to follow when making decisions while designing, basically. So the first one is visibility of system status. The design should always keep users informed about what is going on through appropriate feedback within a reasonable amount of time. You can see the illustration on my right. Someone booked a ride. It shows the person that your ride has been booked. It just basically tells you, oh yes, my ride has been booked. Instead of you clicking on book ride and then you're not seeing anything, you're basically going to be frustrated, right? Another heuristic is match between system and real world. The design should speak the user's language, use words, phrases, and concepts familiar to the user rather than internal jargon, follow real world conventions, making information appear in a natural and logical way. These illustrations are basically icons on a MacBook, right? They basically match the real world. We can easily know that this is a bin, and that is how a bin in real life looks like. This is the same way a calendar in real life looks like. So even if it's not labeled, I already know what it is. This is how a notepad in real life looks like. This is how envelope that comes in the mail looks like. This is how cameras or this is how cameras look like. So I know, okay, this has to be FaceTime or camera or something. And this is how, things that are stacked together look like. And that is the menu on a MacBook, right? So the next heuristic is error prevention. Good error messages are important, but the best designs carefully prevent problems from occurring in the first place, either eliminating error-prone conditions or check for them and present users with a confirmation option before they commit to action. This illustration shows the type of password that this app wants. So the app wants a lowercase, it wants 2 numbers, it wants 1 dash, it wants whatever it is, right? They have listed it there. Because normally, most of us have default passwords that we use, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And then we use it for everything, basically. And then if this application did not put in their password requirements, and I basically just put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's going to bring out an error because that is not the password format that this application wants. So to prevent that, just tell the users, this is what you're going to do. This is what you're supposed to do to prevent errors, right? Another heuristic is help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. Error messages should be expressed in plain language, not error codes, precisely indicate the problem and constructively suggest a solution. So sometimes we go to some websites and we see error 503, error this, that. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what error 503 means. I don't know what error 404 means. Explain it to me in English, please. Okay, so tell the person, for instance, here it says, looks like this website is moved or missing. Go back. Basically tells me, it doesn't say error 404. It tells me, okay, this is what is happening. Or then maybe you want to send money to someone and then it's showing me error 404. I want to know why my money is not sending, not error 404. You can probably just say, oh, NIBSS is not working at the moment, something, internet connection is not working. Tell me what is happening. Don't show me error 503 or something, right? And also allow them recover from errors. So maybe they go to the wrong screen by mistake, or they put in a wrong URL code or something. Tell them, okay, this URL, this website doesn't exist. Go back to where you're coming from, and then you can navigate your way from there. Another one is user control and freedom. When it's easy for people to back out of a process or undo an action, it fosters a sense of freedom and confidence. Exit allows users to remain in control of the system and avoid getting stuck and feeling frustrated. Imagine you want to download something, you click on download, and then you discover that, oh, this is not the thing I want to download. And then you're looking for a cancel button and you can't see it. You're going to be pissed off. One's going to waste your data, it's going to waste your time and a couple of things, right? So, and that's why it is better if you allow users to have control. Oh, you downloaded something by mistake. You can cancel it and all of that. You came to the wrong page, you can go back, you can reset the page. That's why this Control Z. You can always undo your mistakes and all of those things. Imagine there was no Control Z on Figma. A lot of people would not use Figma, trust me, because they will be stuck and frustrated while designing. Also, consistency and standards. Users should not have to wonder whether different words, situations, or actions mean the same thing. Follow patterns and industry conventions. This illustration shows perfectly what it is, what it means, what consistency and standard means. I just want to log in. These are the things I need to log in. Don't be asking me for my date of birth, where they gave birth to me, where they gave birth to my father. I just want to log in. And these are the things I need to log in, right? Also follow standards. Because you are creative, yes, everybody's creative. We know that. You don't have to make a button triangle or a crazy shape because you are very creative and maybe you can draw. No, follow standards. Make it a rectangle, probably rounded corners. If you don't want rounded corners, leave it like that. Don't be extra creative and then reinvent the wheel in a way that is going to frustrate your users and give your users a bad experience. Another thing is recognition rather than recall. Minimize the user's memory load. by making objects, actions, and options visible. The user should not have to remember information from one part of the dialogue to another. Instructions for use of the system should be visible or easily retrievable whenever appropriate. I would use these shortcut examples, right? Sometimes we forget some shortcuts, and then probably we've even used them before, but then we've forgotten. But most applications for good user experience, they remind you. Right here, I'm on Figma, and then there is a shortcut here. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's showing me that I can just click on R to restart, showing me options basically. Yeah. So it's showing me that I can just use Z to perform this action instead of me recalling that, oh, wait, how do I actually fit to a certain screen or something? It reminds me that this is what I need to use, right? So it's helping me to recognize what I need to do instead of recalling it by myself. Another thing is flexibility and ease of use. Shortcuts, basically. Hidden from novice users that are using your system for the first time. But shortcuts may speed up the interaction for the expert users, such that the design can cater to both inexperienced and experienced users. Allow users to tailor frequent actions. So if you're a newbie on Figma and all of that, I want to look for plugins, you would probably, I think without the shortcuts, you have to click on like 3 different things to be able to search for your plugins. But if I know my shortcuts, I just press on command / and then I get my plugin menu. He has basically shortened the time that I would need to search for plugins. Instead of clicking on 3 different things, I'll just press command and / on my laptop and get the plugin menu. Another thing is aesthetics and minimalist designs. Interfaces should not contain information which is irrelevant or rarely needed. Every extra unit of information in an interface competes with the relevant unit of the information and diminishes their relative visibility. I don't know if you can see this image on my right. It is a platform or it's a website to book flights, right? You can see how easy it is. It's basically just telling me, okay, put in the information you need to book a flight. It's not telling me, oh, this is the weather today, this is the weather for the planes, these are the planes available. It's not telling me that yet, because I just need to do one thing, book my flights. And it's just showing me, okay, you want to book your flight, this is how you book your flight, period. It's not telling me unnecessary information that I do not need. Minimalist design, take note of that. Another is help and documentation. It is best if the system doesn't need additional explanation, right? If you need to explain, your design, you did not design it well, trust me. However, it may be necessary to provide documentation to help users understand how to complete tasks. That's when maybe you've reinvented a wheel, you've done something that is outside normal, right? Make sure that your users can get help and understand with proper documentation, right? Maybe there's something you need to know about the product. Make sure there's easy help, right? So that's why most apps have a help center. They have FAQs that you can easily go to and check for any issues you might be having with the product, right? So I've come to the end. I stated the 10 usability heuristics, but there are a couple of other heuristics that were not created by Nelson Norman. Google is your friend. Go to Google, search for usability heuristics. It will give you all the heuristics, including the one for Nelson and some others. Laws of UX, there are other laws. There are like 19 laws. They're important. There's a book. The book is about, I don't know, more than 100, 200 pages. You can read it. As a designer, you need to read things. because not everything that would be shown in a YouTube video or a class like this, you need to read by yourself. So you can go to the website, lawsofux.com. You will see the laws there explained also. You will also see a link to download the book. I don't know whether it's free or not, but you can go there and check. You can also go to Nelson Norman Group. I advise everybody listening to me to actually go to Nelson Norman Group. Subscribe to their newsletter. This is not an advert. It's just me telling you what is good. Subscribe to their newsletter. You're going to get a mail like almost every day. And their mails will help you. They would help you learn what it is you need to know as a designer. Trust me, it's going to help you a lot. Then another YouTube channel I really, really recommend is AM Designs. They have a lot on laws of UX also, and a lot on other parts of design. Then Urban Community Design is also good. You can check them out on Google and, learn more information from them. So thank you very much for sticking to the end of the class. You guys have any questions?